People with disabilities vote.
This every commitment in Wisconsin.
For those who want to vote in person on Election Day,
accessible polling places make all the difference.
Listen to what some of those voters and clerks and accessibility specialists have to say about their experiences.
People with disabilities live in every Wisconsin community, and they vote.
When you see me at the polls, you might not realize I am deaf and I wear a cochlear implant.
Deafness is one of those disabilities you can't see, but voting is really important to me. My first experience was not a great one. The poll worker was talking very quickly at me, and I needed my mom to help interpret for me. I even asked my mom if she could come with me, and the poll worker said that wasn't allowed. But I wanted to make sure that I filled out my ballot correctly so my vote counted. Now, I look forward to voting.
I also have a disability, and I have to say throughout the years I have never missed an election day. What I've come to learn is that polling places really can work for everyone, and I've seen accessibility get better and better as clerks and poll workers make improvements.
It's important for me to tell the poll worker that I'm deaf and that I might need a little assistance. If that happens to you, just know that not all deaf people communicate the same way. I SimCom, or speak and sign at the same time. Someone else might write a note. Someone else will just sign. So try and keep an open mind.
Yeah, there's a learning curve for voters and for poll workers. The polls on Election Day are busy places with a lot going on. I called my town clerk and signed up as a poll worker a few years ago. It was a good way to see the process close up. I got to use what I know about the voting process, but I also help it go smoothly for everyone.
That's cool. I think it's a great idea that people with disabilities are on both sides of the table. Maybe I should volunteer.
Maybe you should. Look for us on Election Day.
Every voter has the right to cast his or her vote independently, in private, and in person.
I know I could vote absentee, but I feel like I am part of things when I go to my polling place on Election Day. Like everyone else, it is important to me that I can fill out my ballot on my own. I can do that because now there is an accessible voting machine I can use at every polling place.
That's what everyone wants when they come to vote in person. I work with the city to make sure polling places are accessible. On Election Day, I talk with poll workers about serving voters with disabilities. Sometimes they ask questions and we work together to make sure the polls are accessible for all people. It's not difficult to make a polling place accessible, and it makes the voting experience better for everyone.
When I have a problem, I tell the clerk or the poll worker. Generally, they are tuned in to making the place and the process accessible. I appreciate them treating me like any other voter. When I have questions or problems, they're always very helpful to me. My vote, like everyone's vote, needs to be private, and I appreciate the help I get while making sure that my vote counts.
You're right, Marilee. Privacy is important. In our city, I sometimes found that the accessible machine was facing out so other voters could see the screen. There was a simple solution. We turned the machine around so it was facing the other way. Accessibility and privacy doesn't need to be difficult.
Look for me on Election Day. I'll be there in line at my polling place, ready to vote.
Polling places must be accessible for all elections, large or small.
In years past, I voted absentee, but then I heard about the new voting machine that is available and is a device that will help people who are visually impaired like me vote in elections of all kinds.
That's right, Neil. I am glad you checked out your polling place. I have noticed an increase in people with disabilities coming to the polls since we have made changes to make them more accessible. You might not know it, but there are lots of people with disabilities in every community. It is important that we are accessible for all elections, too, because you never know when someone with a disability comes to the polls.
I tried the machines, and it was easy for me to use, and it would be easy for others to use as well. Large print signs also help the process.
That's great feedback. Larger signs help everyone. One thing about accessibility is that it makes it a lot easier for everyone to vote. We will see you on Election Day.
A walkthrough on Election Day is a good way to make sure a polling place meets all accessibility standards.
There's a lot of work in small communities. We are busy both before and on Election Day. I work with other town staff to be sure all polling places operate problem-free. That includes checking that all voting locations are accessible to all people.
It's the same for us in a big city. A walkthrough is very helpful for all the people working at the polls. It helps to make sure that barriers are removed before the doors open in the morning so that voters with disabilities can vote easily. We use an accessibility checklist so we don't forget the little things. Sometimes it's as easy as adding a sign at the front door or clearing off snow and ice in the winter, including the accessible parking spot. These things can be easily fixed.
The checklist's a good resource for all of us, too. Besides inspecting inside and outside for any problem areas, it's a reminder to make sure the voting machine is on and works. It also helps us to make sure that the poll workers know how to use the equipment. I want all my poll workers to know how the machine works so they can help others.
Yes, we make sure that all of our poll workers are comfortable with the machine at every election. After an election last year, a poll worker told us about a voter with limited use of his hands who voted by himself for the first time using the automark. She said the experience made her understand the importance of having an accessible machine and now encourages everyone to use it.
It's great getting feedback like that. Tells us we're doing the things that make a difference for people.
Couldn't agree more. We'll see you at the polls.
Making people feel included is as important as the physical accessibility of the polling place.
John, you and I go out a lot.
Yeah, a lot of hungry people still understand what I'm saying.
When I don't understand you, John, I ask you to repeat what you've said.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
What about signing the poll book?
I mean, do have to become something the book, but I want to be like people have the songs blinding in my film. Usually they put privacy sickness card for me.
Yes, but John, if you can't sign the book, you can use a stamp or get an exemption from signing it, right?
Yes, that's true, but I like to sign it myself, even when I take them to a accommodation. However, I've appreciated being asked because I may not know what is available.
So John, what else makes a difference to you at the polls?
I am active voter with classes and some many times poll workers will recognize me when I arrive at my public place. They know what kind of assistance I may need in signing the poll book and casting my ballot. This makes me feel welcomed and included as involved as students or uninformed to ask the physical conditions of the public place. We will see you on election day.
Thanks for making sure everyone, including my friend John, can vote in person.
I come to the polls and I vote.
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 I come to the polls and I vote.